So I got quite a few books over the past month and a half or so. Some of them were library books, and I've already done a library book haul, but then I got more from the library. So there are more books here that I acquired from the library because I reserved them. They're ones that I had on my wish list that I really wanted to read. So I'm going to start with those, and then I'm going to show you the books that I got for free or the ones that I bought for myself. So I've got some YA, some fantasy, some non-fiction, some sci-fi, a bit of everything really. So let's get started with the library books first. So the first one that I requested and I have already read is The Smell of Other People's Houses. This one is set in Alaska in the 70s, yeah, 70s. And this follows 3 or 4 main characters as they're kind of coming of age and learning what they want out of life, if that makes any sense at all. The tagline says growing up here is like growing up nowhere else, which I think is very much conveyed in this book. The author grew up in Alaska herself. I didn't love this one. I think I gave it 3 stars because it just didn't really captivate me, but it was okay, and I'm glad that I ended up getting it from the library instead of from my wish list because I would have been a bit disappointed. The next book that I got from the library is Leave the World Behind. This one is one that I'm currently reading. I'm currently 80 pages in. I'm almost done with it because it's quite a short book. This one is, I guess, climate fiction, but also apocalyptic perhaps, but also in a kind of questionable manner, if that makes sense. So from what I've read so far, what I can tell you is that this family, which consists of 2 parents and a son and a daughter, they are at an Airbnb. One night, the owners of the Airbnb show up and say that there's been a blackout in New York City. They were on their way home, but they've turned in to their second home, which is the Airbnb, and they would like to stay with them because it sounds as though something has gone horribly wrong. And so the parents who were renting out the Airbnb, they try to access the internet and the TV to see what's happening. They can't tell. So I think they're kind of questioning whether or not anything is actually happening and whether or not the family or the Airbnb owners are like having them on or something. I am not loving this book so far. It's a very interesting concept. It says it's very unnerving, which I have yet to see, but I am barely halfway through, so I'm hoping it's going to pick up. My main issue at the moment is that the author keeps comparing things to erections. I read this out to Quill a couple of days ago as I was reading in bed, and just some of it was just ridiculous. And I have this problem with quite a few male authors. They just talk a load of nonsense and keep comparing stuff to penises or erections or talking about breasts, and I've noticed that this is a trend in a lot of male authors I read, which is why I don't tend to read them. I'm going to carry on with this book because I hope it's going to get better and that it is going to be chilling and unnerving like it says on the front. And the next one I picked up from the library is one that I don't know anything about, and that is You Exist Too Much. So I think what I know about this one, which again isn't much, is that it's set in both the US and the Middle East. I'm not sure where. I know that the author is Palestinian, and it's about a Palestinian American girl who is kind of discovering her queerness. She moves in with her first girlfriend in, I think, New York. Again, this is a short one, and it's one that I really do want to read in July, but I don't know if I'm going to be in the mood for a contemporary book, so it might push into August. I'm looking forward to getting to it soon. Okay, so those were the books I got from the library. Mixed results so far, but I'm hoping it's going to pick up. I also got another book for free, not from the library, but when I went on holiday to Wales recently, the Airbnb that I was staying at has a book swap session, and I didn't swap any books because I didn't know that was a thing before I got there, which is a shame because I could have taken a bunch of books. But I did find 1,000 Splendid Suns, which I requested from the library ages ago, but whoever has it checked out has had it checked out for months now and they still haven't returned the book. So I was getting quite annoyed because I really wanted to read this book, but I managed to find this one at the Airbnb book swap, which, yeah, what's a result. So it's a bit battered and gross, but that's okay. This one is set in Afghanistan. I don't really know what it's about, but I loved The Kite Runner, so I'm looking forward to reading this one. I'm going to be reading it in July and I'm so excited. Okay, and now we're getting on to the books that I bought myself. Some of them are for different like projects that I'm doing, some are just for, I don't know, reading purposes at some point when I get to them. So I'm just gonna work my way down, I suppose. So the first one I bought is Felix Ever After. This one is, the camera's recognizing Felix's face, this is amazing. So this one is a YA contemporary about a trans main character called Felix, and I think it's about him falling in love. And I also think there is some hard-hitting stuff in there as well, in that someone brings up Felix's dead name or something and he starts getting transphobic messages. So there's a lot of transphobia in this book, it sounds like, but it's definitely one that I want to check out because it's been getting so many good reviews. I've never read anything by Case and Calendar before, so this will be my first book by them. I also love this copy because it has sprayed edges, and I don't normally go for sprayed edges in my books just because like the books are normally facing inwards, so I don't normally notice, but these ones are lovely and they match the front cover, so I'm very pleased with this. I'm going to be reading this as part of a Reading Through the Rainbow project, which I was going to do for Pride Month, but because I got promoted in May or June and I've been doing a lot of training at work, I just didn't have time to read 7 books in 7 days again, so I'm I'm hoping to do that sometime in August or September. The next one I got is something a little bit different. It's non-fiction and it's called Surrounded by Idiots: 4 Types of Human Behaviour, or How to Understand Those Who Cannot Be Understood. There's a bit of a story behind this one. So I did a management course which focused on the 7 habits by a guy whose name I can't remember. The coach who was telling us about it is going to be so disappointed in me. I think his name's Stephen Covey. Or Covey, I think it's Covey. And he recommended that we pick up the book 7 Habits for Highly Effective Managers or Highly Effective People. I didn't want to pick up that book because it was really freaking expensive, but I was vaguely interested in reading other like businessy self-help books, or self-help books that focus on the business side of things, particularly because of my new role. I don't know if I'm getting too into my new role or not, but I figured I would pick up some books about it. And then I was also planning on having a bookshelf near my desk at work where people can just borrow these books and read them if they want to. So I wanted to read the books first before I put them on the shelf, because if this turns out to be something like really awful, then I want to know. So I'm going to read this one, see how it goes. Obviously it's non-fiction, it's about, you know, people in the workplace and your colleagues and stuff. It says here that it talks about a groundbreaking method for assessing everyone we communicate with based on four personality types, from body language to conflict handling. This entertaining read will give you all the tools you need to understand and influence those around you and ensure the idiot out there is not you. So yeah, I'll be reading this one at some point. The next one I got is again for another project. I don't think I'm going to be getting to it until at least September because I just don't have time. This is going to be like a common theme for the next couple of months for me. I picked up Amari and the Night Brothers. I'm so excited, and also I love this cover. This UK cover is stunning, hopefully you can see, and it has silver sprayed edges. Again, I don't normally care for sprayed edges, but the fact that these ones are silver makes this one so much better. So this one is a middle grade fantasy book, I imagine. I don't really know much about it, I just know that everyone has loved this book. It says here that the main character, Amari, is a magician. Her brother Quentin has gone missing. Nobody will talk about it. So I assume she's going to have to go and find her brother and use her magical powers. I honestly love this one, it's stunning, and also I just took the dust jacket off and it's so pretty. I'm so pleased with this book, and I don't read a lot of middle grade, but it is something that I want to explore a little bit more. Not for any particular reason, it's just that's one age category where my, aside from like picture books or, you know, toddlers books, where my book knowledge isn't really that great. So I don't know, I feel like I should read some more just because, and I think I'm going to definitely enjoy this one. The next one I bought is another non-fiction book. It's not self-help this time, but it's something that I've been hearing a lot about and I really wanted to pick up. So that is The Gift of Fear. This one basically talks about survival instincts, and from what I've heard it talks about gut feelings and how you should trust your gut, because if your gut is saying that you're in danger, if you're for example in an empty parking lot or car park, I guess if you're in the UK, and your gut is telling you that you need to leave, then you should listen to your gut because there's a reason that you're feeling that way, and it's a very subconscious kind of thing. It also says here that it shows you how to spot even the subtle signs of danger before it's too late. It shatters the myth that most violent acts are unpredictable. The author's clients include top Hollywood stars and government agencies. It talks about how to act when approached by a stranger, when you should fear someone close to you, what to do if you're being stalked. So I don't anticipate being stalked anytime in the near future. I think this sounds like a really interesting read for the survival signals side of things, I think. The next one I picked up is another middle grade book. Like I said, I want to read more middle grade, and this is one that I've heard so much about. It's Arusha and the End of Time. This one is another fantasy book. It's by Roshni Chokshi, who wrote The Gilded Wolves, and I haven't read that one yet, but I do want to at some point. It says here Arusha has a tendency to stretch the truth in order to fit in her private middle school. While her classmates are jetting off to exotic vacations, she'll be spending her autumn break in the Museum of Ancient Indian Arts and Culture that her mum curates. So I don't know if the main character is kind of growing up in a lower income household, but all of her classmates are kind of rich, which I can definitely relate to. This happened to me when I was younger, although I didn't go to private school. For that reason, I think it's going to be very relatable to me if that is true. I'm also very much looking forward to it because I really want some more middle grade fantasy, and yeah, I think I'm going to enjoy it. I think I'm going to pick up maybe 2 or 3 more middle grade books and then do a reading vlog on it, or I might just do 3 at a time and then do a couple of them, I don't know, but yeah, middle grade is definitely something I'm looking forward to reading more of in the coming year or so. Next, I picked up a YA book. I have had this one on my on my ebook shelf for ages because I had it via NetGalley, and I got it just before I went on a book blogging, booktubing break, so I didn't get around to it unfortunately, but I decided to pick up the book because first of all it was really cheap because it's been out for ages, and also I want to recap it and my friends have also loved it. So that book is This Mortal Coil. This is the first book in a trilogy. It's a sci-fi thriller, I think, about genes and DNA and stuff, and I love that kind of thing. It says here that main character's father was the world's leading geneticist, and was humanity's best hope for beating a devastating virus. It looks as though he was creating a vaccine and someone killed him so that the vaccine couldn't get out. And at the moment, I don't really mind reading stuff about viruses or plagues or pandemics or anything. It's something that I'm actually still quite interested in, which I think is slightly different to the way most people are feeling. I think a lot of people are probably burnt out. Personally, I'm finding it quite interesting to see how characters are dealing with viruses and pandemics and stuff, and how it's differing, how the fiction is differing to the real world, and how things are similar as well, like which authors called this kind of thing. It was quite amusing that some of the books that I've read in the past year or so actually mention COVID or SARS or coronavirus. That's not something I would have picked up on or even really paid much attention to prior to 2020, but now I do. So yeah, it's actually a genre that I quite enjoy, and so I'm looking forward to reading this one. I think it's going to be very fast paced. I'm not going to get to it anytime soon. I don't think. I'm probably going to save this one for the autumn when I have a bit more time on my hands, then I can perhaps binge the entire trilogy. The next one I got is another non-fiction book, and that is White Rage. You probably all know this one because a lot of people were reading it last year. I didn't pick this one up. I read White Fragility a little bit later than everyone else, and I tried to pick this one up as an audiobook, but I couldn't focus while I was also working, which is when I have the time to listen to audiobooks now. I wanted to pick it up as a physical book so I could tab it up and stuff, and from what I've heard, this one focuses on the racial divide. It focuses on racism and white rage, but I think it also takes a more in-depth look at US history maybe, and how things came to be this way, whereas White Fragility didn't really, in my opinion. So I'm really looking forward to this one. I think it's going to be a good read. The next one I got is one that I found in a charity shop, and that is More Happy Than Not by Silvera. This is another author that I want to do a which author's book is best project, but I don't know if I'm going to manage it anytime soon with Silvera. But I saw this in the charity shop for £1. It says here that it's meant to be $11, so it was about £10 off, which was good, and I really enjoy looking at this cover. Actually, it's a really nice cover, and I think the normal one or the UK one has like a smiley face, and I don't really like that. So yeah, I really enjoy this cover. It's good. I don't know much about this one. I imagine it's going to be quite tragic. Apparently Silvera's books make people cry. I've never read any of his books apart from the one that he wrote with Becky Albertalli, so I don't really have any strong feelings about Silvera yet, but maybe I will after I've read this one. And then the final book that I wanted to show you, I've got a couple more things to show you after that, is Empire of Storms. So I've been slowly, very slowly collecting the hardbacks of these books, because I first purchased them as UK paperbacks before the US hardbacks were really a thing, and I've decided that I much prefer the US hardbacks of this series. That's not always the case, but it is for this one. I'm going to be doing, again, another reading project where I read through the Throne of Glass series, and I've still got a couple more to buy, but now, apart from Tower of Dawn, I own the entire series, so I'm going to be doing that project at some point in the near future. And I've already read up to and including Queen of Shadows, but I've never read past Empire of Storms. That's something that I really want to do. I kind of miss this trashy YA fantasy world. I think it's good for, I've said this before, but I think it's good for readers of urban fantasy, even though it's very much epic fantasy. It's not urban fantasy by any means, but I think it has a very similar feel to it because it's very fast paced. It has some like trashy romance. The main character is super strong and kind of unbelievably badass. It just feels very urban fantasy to me, and I think maybe a couple of my friends who have read it upon that recommendation kind of agree with me, because I think it's a good way of putting it. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. Yes, I want to read the Throne of Glass series again at some point, maybe this year, maybe at the beginning of next year, I'm not too sure yet, but now I have the hardback. So the next couple of things I want to show you are from Angel. I will leave her channel down below, as well as her Etsy store, because she makes these gorgeous book sleeves, and I purchased one from her before. I loved it, so I purchased 2 more when they were on sale. So she was selling this dinosaur Christmas one, which I love dinosaurs so much, and it's got a really cute polka dots inside. And then I also purchased this Halloween-y type one. It's got black cats all over it and it's orange, and then inside there are these spots, and I just love these book sleeves. I think the reason that I purchased book sleeves from Angel's store is just because she has the cutest fabrics, at least in my opinion. They just really speak to me, and I love how much she likes dinosaurs as well, because I love dinosaurs and I keep wanting to buy all the dinosaur ones that she has in stock, but I'm holding off because I don't want to be a pain and make her go to the post office and ship to the UK because she's based in the US. But yeah, I have these 2 book sleeves and I'm really happy with them. As you can see, the books fit in perfectly. I actually use one of them for my tablet, where it's over there somewhere, I can't bother to go and get it, but yeah, I use one book sleeve for my tablet and it fits perfectly, so really happy with these. I would recommend checking out Angel's store if you haven't already. And that's all I wanted to show you. I don't know if there'll be a book haul in August, to be honest, because I'm not planning on buying too many books. I'm probably going to still go to the library and stuff, but I'm trying to hold off so that I can catch up with what I have here. But if there's not a book haul in August, there will almost certainly be one in September. So if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more from me, please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Let me know if you think I should prioritize any of these books and read them sooner. If you have read any of them, let me know what you thought of them, and I will speak to you all in the next video. Bye!